Okay, so today I'm going to be working on the Ducati 749 Dark. I'm going to be doing a Motolectric starter cable install. It's basically a kit that comes with basically a new starter power line and a ground line for the battery and some other little pieces. And when I say pieces, it's like looks to be like wire ties and stuff like that. But anyway, on these Ducatis, these wires get like really kind of crummy, and you can see here my ground, it's already corroding again. I've cleaned this in the last 2 weeks 3 times. When it corrodes, the bike just won't start. So this other kit doesn't change the wire completely. It actually runs in parallel. So I guess there's other ground wires that are hooked onto this main wire that comes back, and it comes back over here on the engine block. So instead of having to rewire the whole wiring harness, they just give you basically another ground wire for the battery. Obviously anything that's not part of this corroded part would still be grounded. So I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to put some dielectric grease on it when I finish it again. Again, this would have nothing to do with it once it's grounded again to the block, because the rest of the stuff is grounded to the block. It's only this one terminal that's corroded. So anyway, it gives you some directions. They download, after they send you the stuff, they send you a download, and I'm going to walk through it and let's see if we can't get this thing done today. She does have a little issue starting when that, like I said, when that battery terminal is contaminated, because it just doesn't throw enough power to the starter because it's not getting a good enough ground. So we'll take it apart, like they say, bit by bit, and we'll hopefully be done by this afternoon. Now, I've already, obviously, put the bike up on a center stand. I've done that already. I've basically removed both side fairings and a chin fairing. Obviously, I did that. Ducatis are super easy to take the body panels off. Then it says disconnect battery box clamp securing the battery. I don't know why you would do that. And then it says disconnect the battery and pull it out. So obviously you should probably disconnect this before you do that, but whatever. I'm going to pull out the battery because that's what it wants us to do next. Like I said, I'm just going to pull off the power leads real quick. No, I didn't run the spot for the battery tender. That was the previous owner. So he ran one side out the outside and one side through, and the side he went through doesn't look that great. So not really sure why he did that, but he did. So pop these off. Should be it. And you can see, I'll probably change that because that's really kind of corroded. Looks like garbage. And you can see what I was talking about. This thing's really corroded, and it's going to definitely need to be changed. You can even see the bolt. Now this battery's only 2 weeks old, and this bolt's getting that, so it's getting a discharge off of that. So, and that's the way the other battery, the positive, was. So should be how it is. Next thing I got to do is pull off this battery connect, or the battery bracket, and it is a number 5 in the Allens. Okay, when I took my battery off, which is brand new, this little plastic piece was off, and the battery was actually leaking battery acid, so that's always great. So brand new battery, and that's not something you even touch when you get it. It just wasn't seated in right, and you can see it kind of screwed up some of my battery. I'm wondering if I need to now replace that. So I didn't like the way that other battery looked, so I went back to DHY and they exchanged it for a brand new one. So there's a brand new one in the box. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open it up and put the acid in it, and while I'm doing the bike, and then I'm going to put it on the battery tender to bring it up to full charge. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to open the battery and put the acid in it. As of right now, I'm just preparing the battery. I have the acid dropping in. I'm going to let that bubble in, and then like I said, I'll stick the battery tender on it while I'm doing the rest of the bike. So we should have that at a pretty good charge by the time I get to putting the battery back in. Now the acid is fully down in the battery. There's nothing left. Just going to let it sit there for a second. I'm going to put the cover on it and put it on the battery tender. So, and then we'll move on to what we were supposed to be doing, which is the battery wires. So now we're on step 4. It says remove the 3 securing battery box, 3 bolts securing to the battery box to the frame with the 5mm Allen key. One of the three bolts, the bottom one, is located behind the rubber battery box insert. Note that the bottom bolt is a 5mm while the other 2 are 6. So there's one in here. There's 2 down here, I guess. Actually, I think there's one up there. 1, 2, and then there's probably 4. I don't know. I'm going to pull them apart and see which ones come out. So the first one's up here, the second one's over here, and the third one's down here. So it's not these 2 down here. So I'm going to take those 3 ones off, pull off the battery tray. Okay, so now I've removed the 3 bolts, and this starts to come off. I'm going to just move the wires out so they're not holding us back, and then I'll pull her out. You can see the 1 bolt that's in the center, that doesn't come out because it's got a spacer and stuff, so you can't pull that out. As you can see here, I did a Rick's regulator, so I've been in here before, so now we're just gonna come back in and see what else we have to change. It wants you to disconnect the battery lead for the left fan, so that's this thing right here. They want us to disconnect that. Next, they want us to take out the heat shield, take off the heat shield with these 4 little screws here. They're Phillips head screws. So we'll do that next. So we remove the shield with the 4 bolts. And that gives you this. And I don't know where we're going next, so I gotta read it. So now we have to remove the 2 bolts securing the ECU to the battery box using a 4mm Allen key and a 10mm socket. Note location of ground cable on the left of the ECU. Mounting bolt. Ensure that the ground goes back when the ECU is reinstalled, or you will short out the ECU. Picture D. And it shows you a picture, so I don't know where the ECU and all that stuff is, but we'll figure it out. Okay. On mine, there's no reason for me to touch that ECU because my battery leads aren't anywhere around it. So here's my battery lead going to the starter, and here's my starter relay, and then the positive lead runs up right here. So I don't know why it says that. I'm not doing it that way. So that's the next thing here. So we're gonna go check it out now. I'm just gonna trim this wire tie here that's holding us up. That'll let us move away and I can get to the starter stuff. So I mean, I'm all where I need to be. There's the starter wire, there's the there's the power lead. So there's no reason for me to take anything else apart. So I tied the new cable onto the side of the relay and you run it up. That one you run in concert. The starter one you change. So I've just dropped that out and it's here. I'm going to throw some diametric grease on it and put the new one in. So I basically have it just sitting back to where it needs to be. I ran the ground wire back behind the water pump back up to here to where the block is here. Tied that in. I just got to bolt this back up and basically put the battery back in. I'm going to run to go get some electrical tape. I just didn't like some of this shit was actually pulled back, so I'm going to do that now. And hopefully I'll have it together in the next hour or so. Yeah, I've got the battery sitting in place, just not tucked in yet. Trying to get the wires on the terminals, and then from there I'll bolt the battery in and try starting it up. Hopefully everything goes well. Got the battery hooked back up and basically turn the key. Everything fires up. Charging a little because the battery isn't full yet. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and hopefully you enjoyed that. That was the starter kit for a Ducati 749. Thank you.